Hey guys, welcome to Currently Cringing. Buckle up because today we're diving into beauty, brains, and badassery with a woman who's truly doing the most. Dr. Divya Srinivasa is in the building. She's not your average plastic surgeon. She's a double board certified breast reconstruction trailblazer and the founder of the Institute for Advanced Breast Reconstruction. She's blending surgical precision with heart, helping women rebuild their confidence after breast cancer, and doing it all while raising three kids and serving looks. We're talking about everything: identity, imposter syndrome, showing up fully as women in medicine, and yes, Botox, boundaries, and being a boss. Get ready for hot takes, real talk, and a serious girl crush moment for me. Let's go. Thank you, Dr. Divya Srinivasa. Do you have a nickname? Like Dr.
Div,
Div.
div.
Dr.
Yeah.
Div. I love that.
Mhm.
First of all, you're so hot. Like
Thanks. I'm
gorgeous.
trying really hard because I've like had kids and I turn 40 next year. So now I'm like grasping on for all that I can.
You have three kids and you look 12, and I have turned 40. I don't have kids, and you're half my size. I wanted to tell the listeners how we met. We've never met in person like most of the people who I love. We have this parasocial friendship, but I meet the coolest people, thankfully. And, I just found you so interesting. I love your page. You're truly inspirational, and you're a cool mom. You're a cool doctor. Like, I want to go to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I know being brown, Indian, we weren't always cool growing up. So,
No.
what were you like growing up? Like, what was your AIM screen name?
It was Dr. Div, actually. In that sense, I've been hilariously consistent. My AIM password and my username is actually like a running joke in my family that I have not evolved in that part of my life. But no, I really was. It's funny because now people see me and I'm quite loud on social media, and I'm very proud of who I am and what I do for a living. And it's funny for people here that I was definitely quieter as a younger child. I wasn't quiet, but I think when you grow up like brown in a very not brown environment, you learn to kind of be the observer a little bit, right? You're like, I'm not going to like throw myself into the situation. I'm going to see how these kids play it and then figure it out. And very much like I distinctly remember this was like character development for me. I remember in ninth grade, you got you're like going to high school and you have to get your photo taken. Just it's for the yearbook. It's no different than any other year, but it feels so different. And I remember I hadn't like asked my mom if I could wax my upper lip. And I was so scared to ask. I was just like firstborn Indian child. I wasn't even born in this country. So I had like an even more immigrant mentality than my siblings do. And I remember I was like, I can't ask her. I don't want to do anything without her permission, but I'm going to look so ridiculous with this full on stash in my ninth grade yearbook photo. So I just took it. I took it. And if you look it up, I have a full on mustache in my ninth grade yearbook photo. But you know what? That girl needed to learn some lessons to be who she is today.
Needed to learn those lessons. It's like I wasn't allowed to shave my legs, and we went on
Yeah.
like class trips to water parks. I'm from Florida. Just hairy on the trip.
You know what? Yeah. But like, can't catch our confidence today.
No,
Uh-uh.
no, and we've got that paper, honey. I lasered my whole body.
Yeah, yeah.
Hair
Oh,
and
yeah. No,
stuff.
I definitely compensated for it in like when I could afford to and when I was no longer living at my parents' place. But it's funny because even as I raise my daughter, I'm like, man, how much of this is do I give into versus like acknowledge the character building that went into this?
Yeah, that's a whole different podcast episode because
Yeah.
I feel like you see the kids these days, and I do think they're growing up too fast, but then you don't want them to have the same experience we did. Like being hairy at
Totally.
the water park at 16 is unnecessary.
Totally, totally unnecessary, but also like some of the scene at Sephora these days also unnecessary.
It's insane. So you always wanted to be a doctor. Was that plastic surgeon, like I'm going to be a plastic surgeon, or was it I'm going to be a doctor and we'll see what happens?
It was I'm going to be a doctor and we'll see what happens. Actually, my mom showed me this like all about me poem that I wrote in third grade, and I thought I was going to be a neurosurgeon, which is wild. No, I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. And it was so funny because I was just talking to a patient about this today, that I think because I was so laser focused, and also obviously my parents were like, doctor, great choice, do that, do it well.
Right.
That it's actually now in my life. Like I feel like as I'm embarking on like the second half of my life, I'm really discovering all these other things about me that I enjoy and hobbies and all this other stuff that I do. So always wanted to be a doctor, then enjoyed surgery, liked plastic surgery, and then specifically found that I enjoy being a breast reconstructive surgeon for cancer patients. And I love it. I love it because I think women in general need advocates. Like as a subset of our species, we just need to be advocated for chronically. And I like that I get to do that.
And your mom's a doctor.
Hmm.
What kind of a doctor is your mom?
She is medicine and pediatrics, so she's double boarded. But the story is like really wild, actually, because so many people ask me, like, how did you get to be so confident and this, that, and the next thing? And I really wish that I could like take credit for it, but I was just raised in this like really unique South Asian brown household because my mom was crazy young. I think she was like 20 when she got married, and soon thereafter pregnant with me. I think she had me at 21, thereabouts, which is wild. And my dad was like, "Hey, I know you were in medical school. Like, you should finish that and you should be whatever it is that you wanted to be." So she went back to India, and that's why I was born in India. She
Oh,
finished her training, and my dad was fiercely supportive of her dreams. And so made sure she got a great residency program, saw her through it, helped raise the kids, truly a partner, right? My mom had the babies and turned them out. I'm one of four. But I remember my dad like braiding my hair for school. My dad was a feminist before it was cool to be a feminist. Like
wow.
he breeds that. And he was so supportive of my mom and raised these daughters. I'm one of four. There's three girls and a boy. And it's just so funny to me that I think the reason I'm so unapologetically confident and feminist now is because I literally thought that's how the world was. I was raised by this man who was like, you're gonna stand on your own 2 feet, you're gonna be financially independent, you don't need a man. You should get one if you want, but you don't need it. So it's like this juxtaposition of this, like, really like for that time, progressive liberal mentality of raising daughters to be like these fierce lionesses and be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. But also, like, you better get really good grades and, like, don't forget your culture. I like did Bharatanatyam and took Carnatic music classes and like did all of that too.
Yeah, and for the listeners, that's like traditional Indian dance, like real, like classical Indian dance,
Yeah.
like our
Yeah.
ballet almost. It's intense.
Yeah, no, it's physically intense and also like very religiously rooted. So like it goes back hella generations. And so that was also, something that I did. But yeah, I think that's how I was raised was so unique and interesting just because of what my mom did, my dad being so supportive. My mom has many, many sisters, and every single one of them is successful. And her dad, if you hear her tell her story, she'll tell you it's like a very similar theme. She's will say, my dad knew no other reality than a man who had seven daughters and had to make something of that in a like from a small town in India, and something of that he made.
Yeah, and I can say because we're South Indian, I think a lot of people who may not know, education's really important in our culture. It's like you really have to study and do something.
Mhm.
You can't just sit around.
100%. Yeah. And it's also interesting that like the value system is very not just societal, but like self-worth, right? Is you're
Yeah.
sort of expected to use that as a metric for self-worth, which again, that could also be another podcast.
Like, yeah, we're not getting our self-worth from our education and our careers. That comes from within. And I've learned that the hard way. You grew up in Texas,
California.
California. Why did I think Texas?
Because I spent so much time in Texas for training and I met my husband in Texas. I had my firstborn in Texas.
Okay.
But Texas is funny because being somebody like raised in California and moving to Texas, that was wild.
So where in California were you raised?
Outside of LA, suburb outside of LA called
No,
Agora.
that's traumatic. That's like me in Miami. Like everyone looks like they're in Laguna Beach.
Yeah, 100%.
Were you a confident kid?
I was, but I think again it's because of my dad and mom. It was like your self-worth comes from the good that you do in the world, the intelligence that you have. Looks will come.
Not when you're a girl studying.
But it was so funny because I also remember like going to college and just like thinking I was the ugly kid because that's just what I always was. I was like scrawny with the mustache, and nobody's like hitting on you for your like coconut oil hair.
Elementary, middle school, high school, college. I'd go to the bathroom, I wouldn't look at myself. But, those things change.
Those things change. And I remember going to college and being like, oh, maybe I'm cute. Like, is that a thing? And it was so bizarre. And again, people don't necessarily believe it. They think like, what a shtick, what is she talking about? And I'm like, if you grew up in a South Asian household, you know what I'm talking about. Like when you realized that it was like okay to think you're cute or want to be cute or that, hey, maybe I am cute.
Yeah. Yeah, like I would say a lot of it is psychological. You're not allowed to think about the superficial.
Yeah.
Like focus on reading and learning and studying
Yeah.
and making something and then, think about makeup and all that other stuff. So then you go to undergrad in Missouri. What was that like?
Yeah. So I went to Missouri because I had a 6 year med program out of high school and I knew I wanted to be a doctor. And I thought, why waste the other years in undergrad? Also, again, very South Asian mentality, like get to the goal faster. It's an accelerated program and you get into medical school out of high school. So
So
that's
who
like a
are
sounds
you? Like a little Einstein? Like
it's, I will give myself credit in this. Those programs are difficult to get
very.
into. I busted my butt in high school to get into them. And I got into a number of them. And I chose that one because it was the shortest. And it was like the most guarantee. And I look back now and I was like, was I really worried that I wasn't going to get into medical school? I mean, it's hard, but I also worked hard and
So like,
whatever. But again, you're just like forced to believe that like I must get there faster and sooner and quicker. So that's the program that I did. And coming from, a wealthy suburb outside of LA to Missouri was definitely a shock. But I cannot tell you how much I needed those 6 years for the growth that I had. Like little Div needed to meet people from across the United States. I will never forget the first friend I made there. Her name's Cassie. Cassie, if you hear this, hit me up. I love you. She was from this little town in Missouri, and her dad owned a car dealership. I remember her telling me she was like the first one, let alone from her family, to like get into a med program that pursued higher education. And I remember she like I like went to go see her in her dorm and her parents were so proud and everything was like pink and furry and cute and like all matchy. And I remember her dad got sick. I want to say it was lung cancer during her 6 years there. And it was just like such a weird thing to me because I remember her dad was always smoking. And that was so weird to me because my parents, even culturally back then, like people in LA didn't really smoke. It was, but already by then it wasn't cool. And I remember just thinking like, oh, your dad smokes. And she had this cute little Missouri accent. She's like, oh, don't worry about that. She was just so like, I can't even tell you, so refreshing. And like the way she was so close with her dad and like what that diagnosis did to her and the way she would tell me about like, I need to be a doctor, Div, because there are no good doctors that are women like anywhere that I'm from. We don't have doctors like in our town. I need to be a doctor because like my dad literally won't listen to me unless I get this degree and explain to him why all of his habits are really, really bad for him. I need to be a doctor like for my people, for my hometown, for my family. And when you're like, well, I need to be a doctor because I come from a wealthy Tamil family, I was like robotically engineered to be here. And you were here sheerly because of like your grit and intelligence. Like, I don't deserve to be in your presence. That's literally how I felt. And every interaction I would have with Cassie, it was just like this weird, like, I'm like, yeah, her dad smokes, but also like everybody does where she's from. And like, she doesn't care. She loves her dad and her dad loves her. And it's, like they were so proud of her. And she is amazing. And believe she lives in Oklahoma now and she graduated. I think she did a fellowship. And I like needed to hear and see the people and the stories and the things that were happening in Missouri for me to be like this avatar of myself. Cause like I was fine, like I was smart, but I was not cool or evolved or worldly in any capacity before I went to Kansas City for school.
I love that you have that self-awareness and that you're not sugarcoating it either. You're just telling it like it is. And
No, it's a huge part of who I am. Some of my best friends that I've made in life are from my time in Kansas City. I love shout out to KC. It's a great city. I
never
love
been.
it.
I need to
Well,
go.
no, it's actually like I'm telling you, the food scene, the party scene, everything. I love Kansas City.
Wow. And then you went to Texas.
Then I went to
How
Texas. Then
great.
the culture talk in a different way because I was starting to like understand a little bit more about politics and health policy and how like being a doctor will always be affected by politics, whether I like it or not. And then to go, so, like, it would be weird. Like, you would be in the surgery center trying to take out somebody's gallbladder, and the nurse would page you saying they they have a gun on them and the hospital policies they can't bring the gun in, but they're refusing to take off their gun because they say it's their right. Like conversations I've never had before where I'm like, I'm so sorry, sir. Can you leave your gun in your car? Can't I just take out your gallbladder? Weird place. And general surgery is just hard training. It's grueling. If you know anyone who's been through general surgery training, give them a high five. It's rough. But I also met my husband. I had my first baby, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, but you just like glaze over that, like had my first baby. I'm like, excuse me, are you an AI robot? Like, okay, you're now how old when you're done?
26,
20
26.
and
And I was in like the pits of depression because I was working really, really, really hard. Also, I had such a magical med school experience. Like it was fabulous. I was like on my dad's car, like living in Kansas City with all these school friends. And
right.
now I'm working over 100 hours a week, always being told that I'm messing something up. It's a long road.
It's tough love.
No, for sure, for sure. So it was sad. And then I met my husband at work, and I realized, am I allowed to curse on the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, I was a bitch. Like
Really?
I met him and I was an awful version of myself. I was an awful version of myself in general surgery. Like when I meet people now and they're like, "Oh, you were my chief resident." I'm like, I need to leave with an apology. I was a terrible human being then.
But
I'm
what
sorry.
made you decide surgery then?
I just loved being a surgeon. I liked the act of like curing and treating problems with my hands, and I loved it. But the surgical culture is wild. It is as toxic as it comes. And I was in the midst of that. And also, like now, people who know me, I'm girly. I like to dress up. I like to wear makeup. You can't be that as a general surgeon. Like you've got to rein it in. You can't be that. And I was in Texas, and I was like, what is this life? Like, what is happening right now? And I met my husband, and it was like in the middle of the night on some sick patient came in, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know that he was like an attending, that he was faculty at the hospital that I was working at. I'd never seen him before. So I was just being bitchy and was like, what do you need? And patient can't, whatever. And then the next morning, I realized at rounds, they're like, oh, the interventional radiologist that took care of that patient last night is our new recruit from Penn. I'm
Wow.
like, I mouthed off to the new Ivy League recruit to the hospital. Like, there's a special place in hell for me. Um,
And for those who are listening who may not understand, I only know because my husband's a surgeon and I've heard these stories. It's old school. Like, you don't go in there and talk the way we're talking right now on a podcast. I have friends that are in the LGBT community that were in the closet in residency and in med school.
oh yeah.
It's like you're t turning back time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is so bad. I hate to admit this about myself. I didn't know who he was. I thought he was like transport or a helper. He was asking me some question about the patient, which was so basic and dumb. And I was like, do you think he's ready to come down now? He's coding. I'm on my 15th unit of blood. Like, what are you talking about? I was awful. Okay. Everybody's listening. I was awful. It's fine. There's been a lot of personal
It's
growth.
public knowledge and she's owning it.
It's fine. We're fine. Also, he knew what he was signing up for, if anybody needs that evidence as well.
Clearly.
But yeah, and then I bumped into him a few more times, and luckily he gave me another shot. And it was crazy because a lot of people don't know this. My husband and I dated for 1 month before we got engaged.
1 month. Is there,
1 month,
what's the age gap?
4 years.
Okay, so there's nothing crazy. Like you just fell in love.
I still think it's crazy. If my daughter comes to me and she wants to marry some dude after a month, I'm like, no, not a chance. Go back and work on some things.
Finish.
Um,
Finish school.
totally. Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, I remember we went on our first date December 16th and he proposed January 16th, and I didn't know he was proposing because that's wild. It's been a month. And it's so funny because anyone who knows my husband, he's like so calm and even keel and chill and like definitely the yin to my yang. And I remember he proposed and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Also, like, it's been a month. Are you sure? And he was just so clear about it. He said, you're applying for fellowships. I'd like to be a part of the process. I know that I want to marry you. I don't see the point of just waiting another 5 months or 6 months or a year or whatever you decide is okay. For what? For what reason? Like, are you unsure? And it's like, no, I knew I wanted to marry you the day I met you. And then I felt stupid of like, I'm so immature and stupid that I'm basing these things off of some normative behavior that I decided was what people do. So obviously I said yes. We got married, and then Ram was born before our first wedding anniversary. So
Wow.
that period of my life was crazy.
But you also seem to be a planner and like maybe in your head, did you want to get married or this just was happenstance?
No, I did. I think if you asked Baby Dave, she was like, married by 25, babies by 26, like all of that, sure. But I was still someone who very much like had, because I'm a planner, I was like, well, when I love this guy and he's so great and we're gonna date for 6 months, because it's the minimum amount of time you can date someone where it's not weird if they propose, but it's entirely based on what I think other people perceive of the situation, right? That is not based on my own personal belief system or value system. I didn't even have a value system. I was 26, like in Texas, trying to survive. Um,
Saw women in your field. Like that's like the elephant in the room, right? You have to plan if you want
oh
because
yeah,
it's only gets, harder and harder. It's
100%. And
only going to get busier.
for sure. And nobody wants you to get pregnant when you're training because they see it as a burden. But I think it goes back to my like, I don't give a shit attitude that I've had since I was young. Not that I don't give a shit and I behave poorly, but I don't care what you people think I need to do with my life. I'm going to do what I want with my life. Like whether it's the 6 year med program, I got into some really, really amazing undergrad programs. And I remember people being like, why are you going to Missouri? You could go to this school or that school. But it's just in my head, that's what
The
I was going to
accelerated program. You were on a
do.
mission and you had a plan. And I love that your plan worked out, you know?
Yeah, it
That
really did. It really did. I'm very grateful for that. And then once you have one kid in training, I was like, what's another two?
and you wanted kids. You knew you
Hmm.
wanted kids and you knew you wanted more than one.
Yeah,
So you ended up having a kid in residency and then a kid in fellowship and then your fellowship in microsurgery. Basically, your entire career of studying, you were
yeah,
pregnant.
yeah. It's
How?
what
How?
I don't know. I think we just do hard things. I think by we, I mean women. Like we just do hard things all the
Yeah,
time.
but was there ever a moment that you're like, I'm not going to be able to get through this? Like, did you have help?
I'm very grateful. I had my in-laws, I had my parents, I had my siblings. And my third pregnancy, I was in another city as a fellow while my husband was in LA living at my mom and dad's house with two kids. And people want to forget that part. They look at my life now and I'm like, do you not remember when my husband had to live at my parents' house because he needed the childcare so he could commute to UCLA while his wife flew back and forth from the Bay Area? Like that shit is wild and that shit happened for an entire year.
Yeah.
Um, you gotta like make some sacrifices if you want to get where you want to go faster. And I knew I wanted kids and I didn't mind being pregnant and working. And my kids had this magical year with my parents. To this day, when you ask Ram and Ria, like, what's your best year of life? They're like, no offense, we love mom and dad, but the year we were at Tata and Pati's, like grandma and grandpa's house, that was it. That was like the
Wow.
pinnacle of life. And I'm glad that my parents had that experience. I'm glad they had that experience. It was wild. I tell people the story and they think it's crazy that that happened, but that's also how I made my life happen. Was being I'm okay. I've always been okay with being uncomfortable temporarily for the greater good.
Absolutely. And you got to get through it. It's what you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I never regretted it. Never felt like I couldn't get through it. Have a lot of help and definitely don't regret it now.
And also, what made you decide breast reconstructive surgery? Like, did you have a rotation in rhinoplasty? Like, what is it about the boobs? You're the boob
Yeah.
goddess.
Yeah. I think part of it is I was good at it. In training, I knew that I was good at microsurgery. I was facile, I was efficient, I was thinking about it in a way that was deeper and more complex and invested than other parts of my trade. Um, I love that I treat only women. I mean, there are men who get breast cancer and that does come up, but primarily I'm a surgeon for women. And I liked that part of plastic surgery. Look, I'm all for like if you want to change something about yourself, live your best life. I don't care. You should do what you want to do. I do think there's some people who probably fall into an unhealthier side of wanting to change their appearance, but I don't think it's up to any of us to decide where and when that happens. But within plastic surgery, to be able to see a woman who's going through a pretty shitty time in her life unexpectedly and say, "Hey, I get to be the silver lining." I just thought that was such a cool part of plastic surgery. Anyways, so I could just tell that was there's something like really fulfilling about that part of plastic surgery, and it made sense, and that's what I do.
And do your kids know who you are? Do they know
No,
the boob goddess?
They do know that I'm a breast reconstructive surgeon, and they'll talk about the technical terms of like the kinds of surgeries that I do, which is hilarious. You know what's funny about kids? I have to say, I was the same way with my mom, and maybe this is cultural. I don't know if you did the same, but my mom was like work. She was a doctor. She was the breadwinner for the majority of our childhood. She was very much mom. Like I almost stole credit from her to who she was outside of being a mom because she was mom. Like she was a mom. She was the woman who would take care of us and feed us, and I don't know. And my kids really see me the same way. It's like, oh, that's just mom, but like that's mom. And so I don't really think they could give a shit about Instagram or what I do for a living or a surgeon. Let me tell you, they like, flying business class to India every year. Like
Yeah.
they're enjoying that. But it's so funny because even to this day, they call it like dad's house or like dad's money. And it's so funny because we're such a feminist household. It's
Yeah.
weird that that paradigm exists. I've never corrected it because I'm like, it's all of our money, it's all of our house, it's whatever. And I couldn't be who I am today without my husband, anyways. But it's just so funny to me that my kids are like very interestingly traditional in that way of like, no, she's just mom. Like, okay, yeah, she's a surgeon. Yeah, she like records content sometimes, but she's a mom. She makes really great avocado toast. She takes care of me when I'm sick.
Yeah.
We don't know. Dad has the money. Like, if you want anything, you should ask dad.
And did you, I guess, grow up in a similar dynamic?
If I did, but I don't remember ever it being taught to me. That's what's so weird. But I remember taking my dad so seriously and my dad's job so seriously. Like he was an engineer and he was a lawyer and he did all these things. And my mom's this total baddie, like double board certified from India, breadwinner. But for
And
whatever
four
reason,
kids.
4 kids, right? In training, like that's wild. But no, when I was growing up, it was like dad's money, dad's house, mom's mom. And she never said, even now, she's like, no, I am your mom. Like, it's my greatest accomplishment. And so she's never resented that. And I don't resent it when my kids do that to me. But I do think it's like a really weird thing in our family.
I love that you're just being true to who you are and just owning all of it because I don't think people understand what it takes to be a doctor and then to be a surgeon and the blood, sweat, and tears and all the late nights. And you're really just giving a part of yourself away during those years.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, 100%. And even in practice, I'm sure you see it too. It's, we take our jobs very seriously. Like
Yeah.
we cry over our complications, any unexpected deaths, we celebrate our wins. We carry it home with us every day.
Need a supportive spouse. And I think it's incredible that your husband is supportive and stayed with your parents. Like, to me, that's a real man.
Yeah, right? No, I know.
That's a
Totally.
man.
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, now to the surgery question. Okay, if someone says, I want to look rich but calm and I meditate, what are you recommending?
I want to look rich, but I'm calm and I meditate, like plastic surgery wise.
Yeah.
I always feel like the most calm, meditative people have really great skin. Like that's when you think that's like quiet luxury of the plastic surgery world is good skin.
Yeah.
And I think that people are really walking away from the injectables, the fillers and the Botox. Great, fine, but I don't think people are indulging in them as much as they were last year. I think it's all about the lasers now. Getting like a really good CO2 laser. There's a variety. There's erbium, there's CO2, there's all sorts of combinations thereof. But a really good like skin laser treatment protocol that like when you look rich and you look calm when your skin glows on its own.
So, okay, so you're rich and you look rich. What laser are you doing?
I haven't done any yet, but I probably do a CO2.
Starter pack surgery, like the one.
It's so hard to say that because it depends on what your skin problem is. Like, do you have acne scarring? Do you have discoloration? Do you have... So I will say this. I would say if you go to a really good plastic surgeon or dermatologist, tell them like the one thing that bothers you the most about your skin. People really mess it up when they show up and they're like, I don't like this. I'm like, I can't, you don't want that many lasers at once. Pick the one or two things that bother you the most and get the laser that's specifically for that. And it's amazing how well those work.
And what is your beauty treatment, your one beauty treatment you'd never give up?
Botox.
Botox. So you do get Botox.
I do. I do my own Botox. I don't front
Do it to
about it.
yourself?
I do it to myself. Yeah.
How? I guess
Just I'm in the mirror, I mark my face up, and then I just inject away.
God. Is there a reel on
You know,
that?
it's so funny when people are like, I'm doing the all natural Botox. I'm like, Botox is natural. It literally comes from a bacteria that makes
Yeah.
botulinum. Like, what are you talking about? Um, Look, hate it or love it, it works. It freezes the muscle. And if the muscle that your skin is stuck to doesn't move, your skin's not going to wrinkle. So, like, you do you, but I don't want wrinkles. So I'm going to keep Botoxing.
3 beauty products you can't live without.
Mm. A good hypochlorous spray.
Okay. I have one. I use it when I fly.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like a good all around, like reduces redness, improves. It just helps your skin. Like you can spray it anywhere. You can take a bath in it. It's so good for your skin. So good hypochlorous acid, a really good eye cream because I like one of my biggest pet peeves is when your under eye skin is looking old and crepey and crackly under foundation. Ugh. So I need a really good eye cream. Um, which I like the Sahajan Golden Glow Eye Balm. That one is so
Okay.
good. Um, and then I have to say a really good concealer.
Okay.
Like just when I want to look fake awake.
Which one do you like?
I think Tarte, any of all of theirs just perform well.
Tarte Shape Tape.
Yeah, OG.
Do you have a signature scent?
I do. It is I
Uh,
like it because not everybody has it.
so are you gatekeeping?
Yeah, I haven't no 100%. I'm not yeah.
Good. What's your hot girl morning routine before you enter the OR?
Um I like to wear bling, honestly. I think like I like to look like a rich bitch when I walk in the morning. Like in case you were wondering, all these carrots are mine.
Yes.
So,
Good.
and also as a surgeon,
You
you can't
work
wear anything on your
hard.
hand, right? But also, like, I think because I had to hide, like, being like who I am for so long that now that I can do literally whatever I want, I own it. And as a surgeon, you can't wear anything on your hands, right? So I don't wear my wedding ring to work. I don't wear bracelets, but I'll just like stack on neck like chokers and tennis necklaces. Like it don't even. I just put one on top of another. Definitely makes me feel good about myself. And I do like to wear a little makeup to work. I think, I like feeling pretty in the OR and no, it doesn't make me a better surgeon, but it just gives me a little pep in my step. So a little mascara and eyeliner.
I think that's great. I think you should. And if you had to do full surgery in a full designer look, which designer would you choose?
Ooh, Bottega.
Okay. I that was my
Yeah.
pick for you.
Yeah, I'm a Bottega girly, although I will say this season of Loewe is insane.
Love that. What was your first like big purchase when you made that big check? Luxury purchase.
It was a Chanel bag. It was a pink Chanel bag. My husband had gifted me one when we went on our honeymoon. And any bag that I had until that point was a gift from my husband. So it'd be like once a year for like as a push present or for an anniversary. And so I had a few from those kind of milestone events. But I remember there was one pretty pink one that I wanted. And it was the first time I bought it. And I was like, oh, I'm actually like I can pay for this. I can afford this.
Holy grail of handbags. Is there a favorite?
Honestly, no. Because all of these luxury bags are overrated. All of it is like some weird, like mind fuckery game that we've all bought into. Like, it's not above me to admit that.
No.
You know, that scandal where they're like each Dior bag only costs $65 to make and we're paying 6,500. So any bag that you like if it looks cute and it makes you happy and it holds whatever you need for the day or evening, like go on with your bad self.
Yeah. What's the most flashiest item in your closet? Like the biggest splurge?
Probably one of the Birkins or Kellys.
Okay. Have you done a closet tour before?
I never will. But you come over
You
and
have to come over and have a
we'll
look.
have a flat white and take the tour of
Yeah.
the closet. You know what? I think Instagram is a weird place.
Agree. And there's a lot of nuzzer and you don't care about that stuff either, right? It's like stuff you buy because you accomplished something and you rewarded yourself and you liked it, but it's not something you want to show off about because it's not important to you.
Yeah, I just think people are already so judgmental about who you are. And I feel like my home is a very personal space, And I just think like, I don't know, I also fell into Instagram a little bit later in life, right? I wasn't even on Instagram in this
We're
capacity like
studying and giving birth.
yeah, exactly. So and I get on here and I'm always like constantly surprised by how nosy and weird people can be at times. And it only makes me want to like share less. And so like there's some things like it's my life revolves around my kids. So there are some pictures of my kids and every once in a while I make a little cameo. I share parts of my married life. But I feel like my home and like some of like I don't think anybody needs to know. And also from a safety perspective, like nobody needs to know the floor plan of my house. Nobody needs to know what the inside of my closet looks like. Sure, I have some nice shit, but there are plenty of accounts out there that have a lot more
Yeah,
nicer things than I am. Like, follow them, they'll show you.
I respect that. So, were you ever in practice before you started your own company?
Totally, totally. It's so funny. I just made a video about it this morning about being unhappy at work.
Yeah, so walk us
Um,
through that montage. How did you start the Institute for Advanced Breast Reconstruction?
I love that you said that. You remembered all those words. You're someone's studying for their
Yeah.
podcast. I started it because I thought that I wanted to be an academic surgeon, so like work for a big university center, be a teacher, professor, whatever. That's like what I thought. But that's because that's what I was fed to believe. When you go through surgical training, you're meant they like put it in your brain that if it's like that or bust, right? And so I got that spot and I realized like I don't even love who I work with. Two of them specifically were like painfully toxic and need lifetimes of therapy to get over their own issues.
A male-dominated field.
No, for sure. I was the only woman and only not white person at that time in my division, which is crazy. Um, and I also knew that I was undercompensated. And it was like such a taboo thing. It still is for doctors to talk about money. But because of that, actually, doctors are like very much taken advantage of when it comes to reimbursement schemes and insurance policies and the government. And again, that's another podcast too. But we just get into this habit of like, well, we don't talk about money and we just get paid what we get paid. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm making you how much money and you're paying me what? And it all just became like readily obvious to me within 2 years of being in this job. And I'm lucky. I was like, you know what? My husband has a good job. He's a professor. He does well. If I quit tomorrow, would we have to change parts of our lifestyle? Sure. Maybe I couldn't afford private school for the kids. Maybe, I wouldn't be able to splurge as much, but it wouldn't make any major paradigm shift in my life. So if I have that degree of financial freedom because of my husband's job, it's now or never. Like, let me just quit and let me figure it out. And if I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to do it unapologetically on my terms because I have spent decades of my life playing that game and I'm over it. I don't want to do it anymore. I got this far, right? I'm living in my dream city. I have my kids. I have my husband. I have the degrees. People can't take that away from me. So I was like, if I could like envision just the most bougiest, fantastic breast reconstructive experience, what would it look like? Are we going to have all pink Pellegrinos in the office in our pink refrigerator? Am I going to have matte gray crocodile wallpaper? Like, yes, all of that. Am I going to have pink silk robes in my patient rooms? Yeah. Am I going to spend an hour with each patient or longer because I can, because I make the rules? Absolutely. Am I going to hire people that work hours that are beyond other people's hours and then reimburse them for it? I am. And so I did all of that, not immediately. It was a slow, like, okay, let's come up with the name. Let's come up with the place. Let's slowly. I remember the first time I decorated my office, I went to Home Goods and was like, okay, I'm on a budget. I took a loan from my husband, bought what I needed. And then, of course, since then have like made it what I need today. And it's still growing. And I have a lot of visions about what it's going to look like in the future. But part of it is I've always been comfortable being a risk taker. I've always believed that like the greatest reward comes with a degree of risk. And then part of it is luck. I was lucky. I was married to somebody who made a living that could support me and my three kids through life, as we had it, so that I could then just go renegade and do whatever I wanted. And I don't regret it at all. I am the happiest I could ever be. I live life on my terms. And I know that it makes people uncomfortable. Like there are people that I make so uncomfortable. And it's like you can pick them out like that. And I go, oh, you're still unhappy. That's why I trigger you.
Or you just know what you want in life and you're doing it. So many people
Yeah,
aren't doing what they actually want to do, or they're doing something because society told them that's what they had to do, and
yeah.
they're unhappy. And I also have realized people don't like a confident, happy woman.
No, they
Who's
really
not,
don't.
who's not humble. I don't want to be humble. I'm not dimming my
But
light.
what is humble? You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
what
people
is
don't
this?
want you to talk about your success.
Which is crazy. You know what I think it is? I think you can be humble and talk about your success. It's just not giving people their flowers who helped you get to where you are. That's when you lack humility. And I can tell you, I'm a badass. Like the shit that I've accomplished in my life is incredible. But I'm here because of some very specific people in my life and some very lucky moments and some very serendipitous experiences. And the amalgam of all of those things have brought me to where I am today. But don't get it twisted. I'm a badass, you know? And I hate that people think like, well, that means you're not humble. It's like, no, I don't think you understand what humility is.
Everyone, needs to understand how hard it is, the road that you
Yeah.
took to get to where you are now. I don't think people realize I didn't know anything because oddly enough, I didn't know anyone in medicine or in the field until I met my husband. And
Yeah.
it's a grind. No one talks about, it's dark.
It's very dark. It's traumatizing. And some of the experiences and conversations and
You're
what
triggered.
I went through, like still like I tell people I had a psychiatrist my last year of plastic surgery training.
I believe that.
And I have no problems admitting it. I talk about it openly. I told my children where I was going. It's like, mommy needs to go see the doctor so she can talk about her feelings and help understand what happiness means right now because it's feeling pretty shitty.
And when did you start your institute?
I started it in 2021. I finished in 2019. So I was on faculty for 2 years, literally just walked in and quit one day. It's like, I can't do this. And then called my husband. It's like, I quit my job. I'm sorry. But I had always in the back of my head was like, this is what I'm really meant to do. So I'd already sort of put things in place. And one thing I'll tell any woman, you have to understand the finances of what you do. And every man or woman too, it could be your boss, but definitely the men, they will do everything they can to hide from you the value added that you are. They don't want you to know. And so when I was working in medicine at a academic center as opposed to on my own, I was salaried. It didn't matter how hard or not hard I worked, I made the same
Matter.
amount. And they make you feel like you should be grateful for the job. Like, oh, you're so lucky you got this job. It's like, I'm so sorry. I'm a double boarded female microsurgeon. Like, you're lucky and I'm here.
Yeah.
But they don't want you to, an ounce of that, they will call you every word in the book, right? So you're a bitch. You're entitled. You have no humility. All of that was said. And it's like, no, I know my worth. And so I started asking questions. How much do I make this hospital? And oh, we can't really share that. Oh, it's not, we barely make a profit off of you. No, I want to know, what are my collections? What is my value added? And once I started asking those questions and getting answers, it became so obvious to me that I was being underpaid. And it's amazing how many more women I've spoken to since I made those discoveries that have realized that they're in the same paradigm, not just in medicine, but across the board, tech, marketing, whatever it is. If you work for someone, they're probably hiding from you your value added.
Absolutely. And for the listeners who are either in med school or want to go to med school or in fellowship and they're experiencing this, because we have a lot of listeners who are in the field, what's your advice to them?
You have to know your value added. I will say to be happy in a job, you need a minimum of two out of these three things. You have to like who you work with, you have to like what you do, and you have to feel like you're being fairly compensated for what you do. If you have less than two out of three, you are unhappy. If you have all three, great, you hit the jackpot. If you like who you work with and you like what you do, you'll probably tolerate a lesser pay. If you get paid a lot and you like who you work with, you may tolerate not utilizing your skill set in the way that you want. But the minute you only have one out of those three things, you need to get it. You need to get out of there. You need to change your job paradigm because if you're in healthcare, chances are you spend more time at work than you do at home.
Absolutely.
So it is 100% relevant to your overall well-being. Don't tolerate being unhappy and be real with yourself. So my advice is ask yourself these three questions every year. Am I still happy with who I work with? Am I still happy with what I do? Am I still happy with how much I make? And if more than two of those, you're not where you need to be, you need to start thinking about whether that's the place for you.
And that's great life advice in any for anyone in any field, actually. So
Yeah.
that's great. And now tell us about Avara Well.
Avara is my new wellness and skincare brand. I had been wanting to do it for a really long time, but it was super important to me that I would be self-funded, that I could put my own money into it and stand by what I was putting out there. So I waited until I could do that. And it was born out of this of my real world experience as a doctor. I would get all these women on chemo or radiation saying, I was told to stop everything and use Vaseline. I'm like, that's crazy. You can't possibly just be using Vaseline. And they go, no, I stopped everything. And you realize, like, well, okay, maybe you shouldn't be using retinol, but you could use bakuchiol, or maybe not this emollient, but this emollient, or maybe, there are safe alternatives, but the reality is you're so in the depths of your own healing, you nor your doctor are going to take the time to like wade through all the ingredients and figure it out. So I first thought, okay, I'm going to come out with the skincare line for women going through chemo or radiation that is safe. And then in creating these products, I went through 1.5 million revisions. I was in the lab. Like I hired a private chemist. This is not some off the shelf stock thing that I bought.
Yeah.
Ingredient by ingredient. This was built to be what it is. And then I got the samples and realized I was obsessed. I was upset when I ran out and I needed more. And I only had my lab sample. And I realized it's because all of us are healing.
Yeah.
Whether it's miscarriages, IVF, postpartum, peripartum, pregnancy, hormones, menopause, autoimmune disease, all of us are going through something. And traditionally and historically, women's health has not been studied in these waves and phases as it should be. It's literally ignored. There are women who are suffering with endometriosis for 5 years before they're told that no, periods are not actually supposed to be that painful, right? And there's a million analogies in medicine like that. And then I realized Avara is actually for all of us. It is for the woman that is healing. And it is a series of curated products, of which we have a never seen before hypochlorous spray formulation that is brand new, not done before, does not exist currently in the way that I've made it on the market. I've got a facial hydrator and a periocular hydrator. And the reason I started with those three products is I think before you get fancy and you're getting into your AHAs and peels and lasers, start with the basics. If you can heal your skin barrier first, all the rest will come and it will work so much better. Your vitamin C will perform better if your skin barrier is intact. So I wanted to start with the basics. And that was, what are the three things like everyone should put on their face before they enter the world? You should have a really good moisturizer, you should have a really good eye cream, and you should have a hypochlorous spray. And that's what I made. And I've got all these other ones coming down the pipeline, but that's what we're launching with. And it's really something that it's crafted by science, but I really curated for you and me and all of the other women out there.
And I think someone like me, I would be your target customer. Like, we want something created by a doctor.
Yeah.
Like I love all the celebrity brands out there. That's great, but I really want something medical because I'm sensitive, for example. So I want
Yeah.
something that was formulated by a physician and I know what's in the ingredients and, like you said, it was lab tested. All these things are really important. I feel like there's so much junk and toxic chemicals in skincare today.
There really is. And this concept of clean beauty is so interesting because it is a little bit arbitrary. And some of it is like fake news. I hate to say it, it's going to be controversial.
Greenwashing.
Yeah, very much so. And so I really wanted to bring like a substantive definition to that. And so even on my packaging, there's like, here are the ingredients that you care about. Yes, there's a full list on the back, but these are the ingredients, the actives, or what's in here that you need to know about. And it is vegan and cruelty free and clean and all of those things. But it's also, we applied for the rosacea seal and we applied for, all of these other medical conditions that are associated with sensitive skin because I wanted to back up my claims that I have formulated this to be optimal for sensitive skin, no matter what you're going through. But here's the kicker. I don't have sensitive skin. I've got so much shit on my face throughout the years and I've tried it all. And I don't have sensitive skin, but I find that my skin craves it because it's so effective in its simplicity. It's like I only put in there what you need this thing to be. This isn't an anti-aging, glow up, SPF. Like, I don't know. Those are all different things. You can get them. This is an ultimate facial hydrator. That's what it is. It's going to hydrate your skin and repair your skin barrier because that is all of what I put in it. And I have, all this other stuff that I want to come out with and formulas that I'm working on. But I actually hate the term anti-aging because it's not compatible with reality. We're all aging. And I actually think some really cool stuff has happened to me as I've gotten older. I'm wiser, I'm more confident. So I don't want to take away from that, but I do think there's a role for optimal aging. We're gonna go down this road anyways. We're all getting older, right? We know that there's an end point. So how do we do that optimally?
I love that. And when can we expect to be able to buy this stuff?
We are launching in May. We are going to go direct to consumer. And I really wanted to like cut out the crap. That's been one thing that I've been really open with my team about. I could not be more hands-on. And it's not even just like a doctor brand and like, oh, I'm a doctor and I hired some company to make it for it. No, like my brain is in all of this from the packaging to the colors to how you're going to receive it to the ingredients to how it feels to how it smells. Everything is my brainchild. And it was important to me that, like I've got some great friends in cool places and I know people at, different distributions and retail and all of that. And I thought, you know what, the real test is if I can launch this brand and it's direct to consumer and I can give people what they really want, then I've done my job.
Absolutely. We're so excited. And for everyone listening, if you have any more questions, obviously feel free to DM Dr. Divya Srinivasa. We're going to have it linked on the page on YouTube and then in the podcast. And of course, we're all looking out for Avara Well. It has an Instagram page as well.
It does, yes. It's at Avara Well, and the website is avarawell.com. And it's, you know what? It's not your monochromatic, modern. No, it's really just like everything that I think is beautiful and pretty and comforting and ageless and whimsical. That's what it is. And so I hope I've sort of created this world of Avara, and I hope that you guys all love it.
Thank you so much for coming on. We booked this like a month in advance. I don't think people realize how busy you are and how much you do. And for your institute, it is in LA
And Austin.
and Austin. That's what it, because last time we spoke, you were flying to Austin.
Yes, I go there once or twice a month. I do operate out of Austin, and then I have a couple of locations in LA as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm so glad we met. And I'm so glad everyone is going to get to hear your story.
Thank you so much for having me. This was actually, I'm excited to share the tidbits with my Instagram community because a lot of the podcasts I do are really medically or women's health centered, which is also fun and also something I love talking about. But I do get a lot of questions of like, how did you and your husband meet, or how,
Yeah.
what were you like when you were younger? And this is the most unhinged I've been allowed to be in having conversations like this, and I'm glad I had that opportunity. So thank you.
There are a lot of single girlies who listen and, they want to know. They want to know these things.
They want to know, and you know what I'll tell you? I love my man. I am happily married, and I don't need no man.
And you don't need one, and you have a supportive man.
Yes, I have a great man. I love my husband. I love him. And he's wonderful. And I'm lucky and I get all of that. And in the same breath, I can tell you that whatever is in the water or happening these days, just don't ever sign up to be unhappy or taken advantage of, or for someone not to see you for who you are, because that will never be worth it just to be booed up. It'll never be worth it.
No way.
And
No.
even when I'm lucky, I'm like in this beautiful marriage and I'm so grateful. And it's not perfect. We have our fights and whatnot. And even in that, I can tell you, he's my best friend and he's a business partner and he's the father of my children and he's all of these things. But I exist in many ways independent of who he is. And I wouldn't change that for the world.
And it's a partnership. He has supported you so many times in, when you've been down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always joke, he always said that I was his like long game, his long-term investment, because he had to put up with me and my spending habits before I made a penny. But that's how that's like you said, it's how you know he's a real man. He
Yeah.
has the
No
greater
ego.
good. No, not literally no ego. And he'll say, like, if me living with your parents with our two kids is better for both of us in the long term and our future, then it was worth every bit of it. And like he's got it good. It paid off.
I love that. Everyone, go follow Dr. Divya Srinivasa. I know it's a mouthful. I'm going to post it on my stories. And thank you all for listening. And again, thank you, Dr. Div, for coming on.
Thank you.